February 28th, 2024, meeting of the Tourist Development Council to order. We'll start with the roll call.
Commissioner Steele, absent. Tom Hermanson,
Present.
Julie,
Present.
Alex,
Present.
Mayor Medina, absent. Samir Patel, absent. Wayne Sword,
Present.
Keith Winston, absent. Andrea Young,
Present.
Okay. First, we're going to ask, before we review the agenda, if any board member wishes to disclose a conflict of interest with any of the items on the agenda. Hearing none, we will move to where are the minutes? Are the minutes supposed to be on here?
They're under D, so, Mr.
Oh,
Chair,
sorry.
if we
There
could,
we go.
maybe if we move C to later,
Yeah.
we'll come back to it.
So we'll ask for a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Motion to approve.
Oh, second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. You want to do the committee appointments now or later?
If we could, yeah, later would be
Later.
good. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll hand it off to Peter.
All right, thank you. Just in your packet, as always, giving you a number of different things, just some interesting call-outs I'll point to. On page 8 is January room night demand. This is the first month that room night demand was actually up slightly, almost 0.5%. It's been down pretty consistently. It was down pretty consistently through 23. Most of that was due to the fact that we had about 175,000 rooms taken out of inventory in 23. So when you compared it to 22, the demand was not as great, but now it looks like we're beginning to catch up a little bit. We've had a few hotels open, so that's adding to that. So I just wanted to point that out. As usual, your STR reports are in here. Nothing, too unusual in those. On page 28 is TDT. TDT is down slightly from the prior fall. Fall was, still good, still strong months, but not obviously as strong as fall of 22. 22 was a high water mark, so we're playing a little bit of catch up. Looking forward on TDT, January looks to be also slightly trailing January of 23, but February, I just got another week's worth of STR data in, and February is actually looking like it's doing very well and may beat February of 23. So looks like we might begin to see a little bit of a turnaround. And of course, as we get into spring break and into summer, those are your bigger months, so those are obviously more critical for us to make sure we hit those numbers. Nothing really to report on budget. Budgetarily, we're on target. Some of the bigger spending on some of the projects, like the beach projects, haven't really hit yet. So you're seeing a lot of carry forward funds in there that are not being tapped yet, but obviously they will at some point. I believe that's it for my section, Mr. Chair. If we want to go to, I'm sorry, I did have one other item I wanted to address, which I had briefly mentioned last time, starting on page 31, and then more specifically pages 39 to 42. We just did some cleanup. We had realized that some of the language in the operating procedures manual for the TDC was sort of out of date, and so we just tried to make it more current and more consistent. So, Mr. Chair, I'll be looking for the TDC just to vote to approve to amend those changes that are in there from pages 39 to 42.
Is everybody, any questions on the changes to the policies or to the operating manual?
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve the changes, pages 39 through 42.
A second?
I'll second.
Second? No discussion? Yep, discussion?
So Peter, I'm looking at this first time, my apologies. So it just seems you cleaned up and basically put the same charge for every committee. It's specific, but it's the
Right.
same format.
Same format, yeah. I was
Okay.
trying to make it consistent amongst each committee. Obviously, the marketing committee is the one that's a little bit different because there's not a grant program out of it, but all the others do have grant programs. So we tried to make the language a little more consistent and more specific to what they actually do.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
No other discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Very good. Next, we are at committee reports. Marketing Committee.
I think, Mr. Chair, I think,
Oops.
other than the mayor missing, I think we can, and I have his appointments, so
Okay.
I think we can go back to 1D if you, or 1C, if you'd like.
We're going to roll back to 1D.
C.
1C, thank you. Approval of the subcommittee appointments. I think last year we had each member call out their appointments and then vote them all.
Yeah, I think we can do it all in one pass, if that's okay with everybody.
All right, I guess I'll go first. Ladies first.
All right. For the Cultural Committee I'm sorry, never mind. For Marketing, I have Heather Lewis from Ranjan Surf Shop. I have for Beach, I have Daniel Kolodny from the Indian River Natural Estuary Program, and from Sports, Lynn Mims from Florida Tech, and Capital Facilities is Pam Rothenberg from Tuckaway Shores.
Okay. For me, I have myself as chair for the Beach Committee, and marketing is Pam Rothenberg, Tuckaway Shores Resort. Sports is Megan Carlin with the Courtyard and Residence in Melbourne. Cultural is Leah Blackmore with the Courtyard in Melbourne. And Capital Facilities is Doug Lebo with the Henniger Center.
Tuckaway Shores fighting above its weight class here. I like it.
Oh, yes. She assured me she could do it.
Okay.
Do
Alec?
we have the same person serving on two different boards?
That's a good question.
It is clear.
Okay.
Yeah, you are allowed to have, you could have a person serve on 2 different committees. Yes, we've had that before.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Commitment. I like it. Alex?
For sports, I have Jason Pierce. For marketing, May Fleming. Capital, Candace Rogers. Cultural, Casey Cesleone. And for beach, Gwen Pierce.
Could you share with us their sort of affiliation?
Absolutely. Jason Pierce, with sports, he is a school teacher in Cape Canaveral. May Fleming, for marketing, she has a antique store in Cocoa Village. Candace Rogers, a mature woman, she's also on the ERC, very, very involved in the local scene. For cultural, Casey Cesleone, this young lady has a shop in Cocoa Village. She's managed a number of different dress stores and seems to have a lot of knowledge when it comes to the community and the cultural arts in general. And for beach, Gwen Pierce, she is works for the city of, I had some notes on them. Pardon me.
City of Cocoa?
No,
No?
no, I'm not cooking the books that hard.
Cocoa
just a-
Village also punching above its weight class this year.
Yeah. She's a clerk of SB, she's on the board of directors for the Florida Association of City Clerks,
Okay,
Sebastian Beach.
very good. Wayne?
Okay, for marketing, I have Howard Schwartz at the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex.
Beach and Lagoon, I have Gina Parrish, also at the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex. Cultural, Aaron Collins, Space Coast Symphony. And Capital Facilities, Elizabeth Schneider with Galactic Medallion. Tour
What
company.
is a tour operator?
Yeah.
Okay.
Beach, Gina Parrish, Environmental Manager at Kennedy.
She'll appreciate sand on beaches then.
Yes.
They got their own issues, and we all do. Got to keep the sand on the beach. Keith?
For marketing, myself. For Beach, the previous environmental person at Kennedy Space Center, Charlie Venuto. For cultural, Steve Herron from the Parish Theater. For Capital, Jackie Barker for Sky Advertising. And I still need to confirm the sports.
All right, for Capital, I'm going to chair that committee. For Beach, Tom Williamson. My business partner. For marketing, we have Mike McBride of Cowbell Agency, a marketing agency. For sports, we have Jamie Tajiro, a hotel operator. And I still have cultural to fill out. So,
Okay, I got
yep.
3. So, okay, for Mayor Medina, his appointment, all 4 of those appointments are the same as last year, so I'll identify him. Hunter Jocelyn, he's a retiree and a small business owner. He served on Beach for a couple of years. For cultural, he's appointing Daniel Waite. He's with the city, replacing Juliette Moscone, who did it last year. For Capital, Fred Poppy, who's served before. Marketing, Christina Bourne, who served before. And then sports, Fred Poppy again, who served for a number of years on the sports committee. So that's Mayor Medina. For Samir, Beach, Laura Lee Thompson, coming back after a while, so that's good. Capital, we have Jeff Robinson. He's with Lytle Beckner Robinson. He's served on Capital previously, a couple of years ago. For marketing, John Stewart, he is with Total Spine and Orthopedics, so I don't know, I believe he's a doctor, but I don't know much about him. Drew Wasden, Seal Equity Partners for sports. And then for cultural, Stacy Weatherington with RLL Real Estate. Then for Commissioner Steele, for marketing, Kim Agee, downtown Melbourne. For Capital, Hunter Gaylor, I don't have what company he's with, but the commissioner spoke very highly of him. For sports, Mayor Dan Diesel, former coach with Titusville High, so it's good to have a sports guy there. Cultural, Christina Latraverse, who's with Seagrass Pottery. She's a small business owner and artist, so that works for cultural. And then for Beach, coming back after a little hiatus, Ruby Daniel is back on with Cape Crossing. So those 3.
Very good. Make one comment. These committees aren't that glamorous, but they don't work unless people show up. So if you'd please kind of try to keep tabs on your committee appointments, especially those that haven't done it before. You've got a clean slate there, Alex. Yes. And if they don't have quorums at the committees, we can't conduct business, and then things just kind of get delayed. So please reiterate that to them. So with that, we have mostly a full slate. We'll take a motion to approve those appointments. We have a motion and a second.
Second?
Was it seconded?
No, I
know.
did.
Oh, I'll second it. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. Now we can move into the Marketing Committee report.
Yeah, we don't have a lengthy report this time. Obviously, the marketing committee is still yet to meet. We're working off of the marketing plan that had previously been approved for the year, but I will say we did launch in January a pretty major spring campaign. We're running about $4 million in media. We're running a variety of different creatives. We're working pretty closely with the Cocoa Beach Hotel Association on the creative for District 2, and then using a variety of creative that's been previously used, but then also some new creative that we'll show probably in the next meeting for all the other districts, for Melbourne, Palm Bay, Titusville, some of the other launch creative that we have. So quite a bit going on from a media perspective there, and hopefully that will have a nice positive effect on our spring break.
Great. Any report from the Cultural Committee?
No, our first meeting is going to be March 26th.
Okay, great. Any report from the Capital Facilities Committee?
Not a report, sir, but we do have a group here who is representing Myra and the Veterans Memorial Park Amphitheater. They have provided, and it's in your packets, beginning on page 46, is that it? Yep, 46, with a cover letter explaining what their request is. They are asking for some additional funds. They received a capital grant back in 2020 for this project. They've been through now architectural and engineering. They have gone through RFPs for quotes for construction. As everyone can imagine, construction costs have done nothing but climb for the last couple of years. So they found themselves short of what they need to complete that project. They'd like to get started this year and move pretty quickly. So they asked to come, rather than come as part of the Capital Facilities Grant Program, come as asking for additional funds as an add-on to the grant that they've already received. I'm going to look to them, if it's okay with the chair, for them to come up maybe and just give a quick, overview of what it is you're asking, and maybe answer any questions that the TDC might have about it. Larry, okay, great. Larry Lallo with Myra.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me okay? All right. Let's see. Check. I know that I've been up there only one other time, and I wasn't close enough to the microphone. Okay, that's good. Thank you. All right. Thank you for listening to our request today. I do want to thank in advance Peter and Jeffrey. They really helped us prepare our package quite well, and if you don't know them, they're very highly detail-oriented.
Larry,
So.
would you mind speaking a little bit more loudly or directly to the
Okay.
microphone?
I just wanted to thank Peter and Jeffrey on the tourism development staff. They were a big help in helping us make sure that we had a good presentation for you. And so we're just moving forward. Going back to 2020, the Merritt Island Redevelopment Agency, on behalf of the veterans and the Brevard County Parks and Recreation Department, applied for a TDC grant. We were awarded about $1.27 million to build an amphitheater. At that time, it was a really nice-looking amphitheater, and it was accepted, and we entered into an agreement with the TDC. At that time, the Myra Board agreed to match that with a $1 million commitment. As we moved through the architectural planning process, we had several charrettes with RZK Architects. There were a couple things we wanted to make sure that we met that were in the TDC agreement. One was that we would construct a facility that could potentially hold as many as 5,000 attendees on occasional events. Our goal would be to meet approximately, at that time, I think we talked about 26 potential events at average attendance of 2,000. We've scaled that back in the current economic impact analysis to try to be more conservative, especially towards scale up. As you may or may not know, the Veterans Memorial Park has been a pretty substantial investment for Myra over the years, and it's getting a lot of attention from surrounding potential redevelopment of the mall and those types of things. I've been in economic development a long time, and I'm always saying, as of late, I never really thought that a park and an amphitheater could create such a substantial interest and impact in economic development projects. Most recently, final site plan stage was approved on a development that wanted to be near the park, and believe it or not, they wanted to be near the amphitheater, and it was a $120 million investment, which is attracting some two others right now that are in the talking stages.
Which project is that?
That's the Woodfield Development Project on the old paintball facility. They received final site plan approval for 370 luxury apartment units. And that has led to, and I know that's not necessarily tourism development, economic development, but it's really good for all of us in the county. And that's led to some other interest in the mall, which has been difficult for us to, get them to come to the table for a variety of reasons. But we're seeing some activity that's very positive, including some leading up to some site control.
Very good.
So that brings us to our ask. We are asking, Myra is committing $4.4 million to the project, substantially more than when we got started. What happened was when the board started going down through the charrettes and looking at this project and looking at the requirements for the project, as with a lot of projects, we were like, wow, we really need to make this a first-class facility to attract these types of attendance numbers, and it needs to stand out. It needs to be differentiated in terms of what it offers to potential attendees, whether they're attending a concert or a weekend event. So there was a lot of project scope that was added by the board, I think, for the most part, very wisely so. Restrooms and concessions. I think when we presented to the amphitheater originally, we were talking about, those questions came up, I think some of them from Chairman Hermanson, about, where are people going to go to the restroom, parking, those types of things. So we were trying to work through all those issues. We didn't want to do, the board was, though we were thinking it would be, porta potties, those kinds of things. Well, the women on the board vehemently objected to that. So we put in a restroom concession that could handle up to 1,000 attendees, expandable to 2,000. And then, of course, if you go beyond that, it's difficult to plan for the occasional facility. You would have to go to portable facilities. So that was part of the project scope. And then once you go into the site planning engineering stage, then you get into and start adding restrooms like that. You got to get to a sewer that has the capacity going underground, so the cost started escalating from that standpoint. Access, ingress, egress, we're adding a new access to the park, more dedicated to the amphitheater. It is in your drawings, in your attachments. I'm not certain what page that's on, Peter.
Sorry, Larry, what are we
Starts
looking
on page
for?
50.
So you'll see, as you go through there, you'll see the restroom concession structure. And I would like to say these are not concepts. These are final drawings that you're looking at and paid for, in part with PDC money. And, yeah, maybe I'll go grab my iPad. Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Yeah,
Alex.
the drawings start after page 69. I don't see
Yeah,
numbers
so-
on the bottoms, but
I won't spend too long going through these, but you can see the site plan of the 80-acre park. We're adding a lot of parking in park. And then after that site plan, you'll see the placement on page, I'm not sure what page that is, but you'll see the situated amphitheater within the park. And then you will see a new ingress and egress on Fortenberry, practically directly across from where Dillard's entrance is. It's almost in line with that. And then these are the depictions of the actual architecturally engineered amphitheater that you're seeing in here. Some things to note. That kind of differentiates this amphitheater, though the appearance is very dramatic and very attractive, we think. It's 6,000 square feet, 2,100 feet of open air stage area, and 3,900 feet of interior space. So we're differentiating again as to what type of audience and what types of acts this could attract. Because inside of that interior space, we have a lounge, a green room, loading docks, and a receiving area, workroom, male and female bathrooms, and 2 wings for entrance. We wanted to make sure, you may see a letter of endorsement in our package from the Brevard Symphony Orchestra. We wanted to make sure we could accommodate the Brevard Symphony on occasion for some good weather concerts. And then below that, we have a Building B that describes the restroom concession building that was added to the project scope. And that also has a canopy-covered outdoor seating area, not a lot of seating there, but some, and a food concession. So that's essentially the facility. And we have a committee, a task force. Many Myra members are on there. The Director of Parks and Recreation is on there, and we're all working on the management side. So working with the county management in creating a project scope for how is the facility going to be managed? Because I'll be the first to say if it's not managed well, it's going to need to be managed well if it's going to be successful. So we put together essentially an RFP for with a management plan attached to it to go out to bid for either employees or a company to handle management.
So Larry, is the thought to have a third party be the official manager and booker of acts, booker of whether it be concerts or what have you for that facility? Is that the thought?
Yeah, the thought that and Marcus was on the committee, he could maybe add to this, and so were Dean and Don. Correct me if I'm wrong, that the thought was that we would have a full-time either employee or a consultant handling the management of the facility itself and the grounds, along with a part-time maintenance person. And they would also be handling the acts directly and with promoters. So a mix of that you'd probably be seeing. So I'm not certain, was it going to be
That was from the direction of the county.
Yeah.
The county helped guide us in that decision-making process. They want to have control of how it gets managed, and then, of course, anybody that comes in, any acts that come in, they'll have their own managers that help manage those different programs coming through.
Yeah, I would just say from my experience, having somebody that knows the booking of that type of business
Yeah.
is really critical. So whether they're hired as a staff person or using a third party, that's the success of those events is always dictated by the ability to get the good acts in and,
Yes.
The key is to build a facility that those acts want to come to.
Sure.
And the county is going to have some say over what happens, obviously. It's a county asset. That's what this is. But there certainly will be management teams, whether it's somebody that we hire or it's somebody that is using the facility to facilitate what we're looking for there on every different act that goes through there.
Can I ask some logistics questions?
Yeah.
A couple of questions. So the capacity of the lawn's about 2,500 people roughly standing, is that correct?
They can stand if they want to, or they can sit. Yeah.
Well, there are different capacity measurements,
Yeah.
whether you sit or stand. You
Yeah,
can fit a
so-
lot more people. So I'm curious what
It's
your
based on
measurement
9
is.
square feet.
What's that? It's better on 9 square feet.
In the
A 3x3 cube.
In the
Okay.
tiered seating area, it's based on 9 square feet.
Okay.
And then outside of that, there's an expanded area for general lawn seating if there's an event that is beyond that. Yeah.
So it said like 2,500 and 5,000,
Not and 5, just total of 5.
total
Yeah.
5. Okay, so there's a tiered and then the total, another
Yeah.
25. Okay.
Yeah.
And have you guys, I'm just curious, have you investigated, so the AMP up in St. Augustine seats about 5,000. They do have rain cover over the top. Have you guys investigated that? And I know you're not in a position to build that now, but is
Yeah.
your design allowing for the addition of that if there's demand? Have you put that into your design process?
Yeah, so we did look at the AMP and looked at some of their management strategies as well. Also, one consultant we were working with, we were thinking about hiring another third-party consultant to do the economic analysis, but it was like $60,000. So, but in my course of the conversation, they said that what's unique about what our proposed amphitheater is that it probably would be the nicest facility that's on the coast-wise between St. Augustine and West Palm Beach. And that in itself is a little bit of a market niche. But to answer your question on the canopies, yeah, there was a lot of discussion about it, but obviously with the cost going up, we thought, well, maybe at some later date, we would start with maybe a higher paid canopy area in the front part and then move back. We also had discussion, and it does have the capabilities that rather than putting people in the grassy expanded seating area, we could put bleachers in there as well.
Obviously there was a Willie Nelson concert, very well attended 2 weeks ago, but it was in the pouring rain. So,
We were examining some of these ticket prices and creating the base data for the economic impact analysis, and I was pretty floored to see $140 for a Willie Nelson concert, so.
Well, people were there. My other question, you mentioned you've changed your attendance estimates from the original. Can you tell me what the new ones are?
I think it's 40,000 for paid new attendance.
Yeah.
Not additional attendance from within Brevard County. I think it's 40,500 if we go back to the analysis. 40,545, something like that.
Yeah.
And that's an increase, a decrease, that's a,
From before, it's not too far off from the other one. I believe that first one, which was an analysis that I did for the most part with a lot of caveats of I'm not a professional, it was in the range of 40 to 42, something like that. It was pretty close.
so it's not there's no significant change
It wasn't not
here.
too much different, and in order to create this base data for the updated study, we have a spreadsheet of all the events, current and proposed, and potentially how it would add, and that was some of the base data that went into the analysis.
There's a pretty good breakdown on page 88, if the committee wants to see that.
Yes. So that's not a significant change. That's my question. It's the same basics.
Yeah, I think this was I would just say, though I think I'm a great professional, this is a much better impact analysis, third party using REMS data. And I think I want to give a shout out and a thanks to Troy Post and his team over there to help us do this. And at first we were not sure we wanted to redo it, but we felt, well, it's been a long time. And with the guidance from Peter and Jeff, we said, yeah, you need to do it. So.
Any additional comments from,
If I might take just a minute, we in the veterans community.
could you please step up to the microphone?
Oh, sorry. Don Weaver, we in the veterans community manage the day-by-day and have done this. One reason the numbers are up is that even without the amphitheater, huge increases in numbers and events at the Veterans Memorial Center. Regular visits, as well as the park now has had 2 major upgrades. So it's a beautiful park. People come there all the time, every day. The biggest playground in Brevard County Parks is there now, and that's get a lot of attention. So we can tell that there's just interest growing there, and to get these big events where we'll get the tourist dollar and more input is to have that amphitheater. And I will emphasize the state believes the program and just contributed $1 million toward the project. To help us do those, I mentioned earlier, the cost increases have been substantial since we were going to start in 2020 versus now. The other thing I want to mention is that thank you to Tourist Development. If we go back, probably before any of you were on the board, Tourist Development helped us to get started in the whole process by making a big improved entranceway. I believe the figure was $700,000 to get ready for what would become the park when it was still just an undeveloped area. But the county came together, the state, with $1.5 million for the museum and another $1 million for the park and amphitheater. So it's a real team effort, and we appreciate the consideration and ongoing partnership that we have with Tourist Development, the county, and Myra, and all the other organizations. And we promise, as veterans, largest veterans population in the country per percentage of the population here in Brevard, we'll be there to help manage, not manage it, we won't lead the management, but we'll be there to support every event, because we'll still be doing uncharged for JRTC competitions at the same time that night. We bring in Willie Nelson, eventually with a cover. Thank you.
I have a question.
Questions I can help answer.
I would just add one comment. Sometimes when you look at these projects, you might ask yourself, well, does this organization have any more money? Our chairman will say this, our Meyer board, they're fully supportive of the project. It's been difficult for them because we were planning on a $5 million project. We were committed to it along with the Florida money, and then the inflationary cost just really kicked us hard. So we started trying to get creative, and so much so that of the $4.4 million, there was a lot of discussion about this, but they moved over $1 million of that out of another capital project that we felt we could possibly delay for a few years to get to that $4.4 million number.
So Larry, just to summarize and make sure we get the numbers right, so
Yeah.
everybody hears that, it's a $7.9 million
Yes,
project.
yes.
$4.4 million is coming from Myra.
Yes.
$1 million from the state of Florida.
Yes.
And right now, you have an existing grant from the TDC
Yes.
of 1.7. So what you're
1.27.
asking for is $1,228,807 to get to the 7.9 million.
Correct.
Okay.
That's That's a bid price or a locked-in price with the county? That's not a cost
So
estimate?
at this time, that's the negotiated price with the contractor from the initial GMP that they submitted. Being in this delay period, they did let us know that they would have to go back to their subs if we're after January and to get it repriced, just in case. And then if it's priced higher, we're going to have to go back to, they're going to have to go sharpen their pencil maybe, and so will we. So, yeah.
So these prices are from when? How,
Yeah, these
October of
prices were
23.
good all the way through January, but they're from October, yeah.
okay, because I know as the clock ticks and with inflation, the cost of these projects goes up every day, the meter's running. So,
Yeah,
thank you.
we're in a very odd environment right now, so.
Some
May I-
building costs are going down now. So you're actually,
Yeah.
yeah, some stuff lumbers down, some things are going down.
Yeah, supply's coming up on a few things, and so, yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of these subs are holding on to their COVID pricing margins. Discussions from the board?
Is there any kind of a management profile? I mean, I know we talked about management just a minute ago, and that it's a park, it's a county asset. Is it going to be run the same as the other county parks are run, where people call in and reserve? I wouldn't imagine it would be. Will there be a special county department just for this area? Because this is going to be a huge demand
That is our
on their.
We had a task force that, where the county was well advised of what we were doing, and the Parks and Rec came up with the program. Basically, with the board's help of, and we had somebody that was on there that had worked with Disney, somebody that works with the Kennedy Space Center, people that understand how that works to bring people in. So they came up with a management plan, and right now, there's an outline for that management plan. Obviously, you can't determine what money's coming in or going out until you start rocking and rolling here, but so there's definitely a plan in place that the county helped formulate, and they've made it clear to us that they want to have a part in the management of that because it's a county asset.
But we don't know what that plan is.
We do have a draft that is considered a final draft by the committee, subject to county management approval.
Can I ask one more?
scope of responsibilities for the Veterans Memorial Center Amphitheater operations. So that's what they're starting with. That's the scope of operations that they've put together. We can make sure we get copies for everybody, but I don't think he has them for everybody today.
Thank you.
Yeah, I hate to keep adding things, but one more thing, as to this, if it's approved by the county management and county commissioners, and we start construction, they will immediately begin going out to RFP to find those dedicated people to manage the facility. Because when you start going into a venture like this, you want to book out probably a year ahead. The construction period is 12 to 15 months. Thank you.
I just was going to ask, will it be, there's no other amphitheater that size in Brevard County, correct? When you're done, will it be significantly bigger?
Cocoa would be the next biggest. and they're
Coco's like 2,000?
Not even,
Yeah, if you go to their website, it's 1,200, but I do know, having worked there before, they can pack them in quite substantially, 2 or 3 times that sometimes, but they're pretty packed in there.
5,000 capacity also.
Yeah, a little more spread out, though.
So it's a much bigger facility.
Yeah, and then also you can imagine, the park is so big, some people are just going to be looking at they're going to be other parts of the park and listening. Yeah.
Very good. Alex?
If the amphitheater is profitable, the profits stay with the park?
From the way we've had discussions, at this time, everything would go to a fund for the county to help underwrite some of the management expense, yeah. And maintenance and management expenses, and ideally, beyond that, nothing has been decided.
Very good.
Yep. Typically, there's a 10% ticket charge that goes to those type of facilities, so, yeah, up to 10%, yeah.
Well, I have a lot of comments, but I'm going to try to
Should I stay up here?
I'm going to try to scale them back. Like everybody else, I had severe sticker shock. Don, I have been around since the early days, back with Jim Barfield and the original grants for the build-out of the Veterans Memorial Center. I was reminded that this really should be considered a separate project. Although it's tied to the Veterans Memorial Center, this is more of a public facility on county property, MIRA supported and state supported. So try not to, I think we should think of them as separate projects. I think it's a beautiful project. I think it'll be a great community asset for the entire county. I think it's centrally located. I think it can draw large amounts of people. I always look at expenditures of TDC funds on returns. There's a lot of funds out there for a lot of different uses. And our goal here is to maximize return on investment for tourist development. We've got to focus on the tourist development. 40,000 attendees on an annual basis with overnight stays is not a tremendous amount. I think, like Larry and I discussed today, the air shows can bring in, in excess of 100 to 150,000 people in a weekend with $50,000 in support. So I don't think it'd be correct to look at it strictly through that lens, so I'm trying not to do that. $2.5 million is a big number for $40,000 in annual visitation from a return on investment with respect to tourist development dollars. That said, it's a multi-party supported infrastructural development. I'm encouraged by the fact that MIRA stepped up and has committed $4.1 million, and that the state saw fit to support it with $1 million. The 2.5 coming from the TDC would be 36% of the overall project cost, which I think is a good balance. I like to see multi-party support for these types of large investments. I do think it'll be a great asset, and I think it'll be meaningful to the overall tourism offerings here in Brevard County. And I also like to point out that it's important that we on the Tourist Development Council acknowledge and sort of get some mileage from the overall general community when tourism supports things that will in large part also be benefiting the local residents. I get it all the time. What does the TDC do for local residents? And it's a lot beyond the economic development, which isn't tangible. The jobs and the salaries and and everything this multi-billion-dollar-a-year industry does for Brevard County. But this is really something tangible that that I think is worthy of TDC support. So while the creep from $1 million to $8 million is tough, I'm suffering some of those same inflationary costs in my own business, and I recognize the reality. And so, you know, you have my support for what it's worth here on an advisory board to the Board of County Commissioners. Hopefully they will support it as well. Mayor Medina, welcome. Assuming you've looked at the package, you missed the presentation. Do you have any questions or comments with respect to this grant application?
I don't have any questions, but if we're speaking about the Veterans Project, I'm in full support of that, Mr. Chair. Thank you for this opportunity. I think I don't know what was discussed, and please excuse my tardiness as I was preoccupied. But I think what's important to note is what the value that comes in when we support our veteran community and the functions and the events that they put on a continual basis. So this is an opportunity where we could partner and not only enhance our events and putting heads in beds, but it also gives us the opportunity to honor the men and women that have protected this nation time and time again when they're called upon. So I'm in full support of this. Thank you.
Thank you. So, are there any other discussion topics or points that anybody would like to make? We have a request for an additional grant. It's a two-part request, an additional grant of
228,807.
And 1 cent.
And 1 cent. Yes.
And 1 cent.
I'll put the penny in so we don't have to write that.
I did note that,
And then sorry, and then they also is a request to extend the groundbreaking for 1 year from April 6th this year to April 6th of next year.
yeah. Larry helped me today by sending me the GMP bid process. I've never been through county bidding, but like everybody else, I assume it's not competitive, and that's probably not fair. But it was clarifying when I saw the backup, you know. This is being bid by the winning contractor, but there are competitive sub-bids for the majority of the work, which are disclosed in detail in that bid package. And that gave me some, you know, it was very enlightening to go through that entire package earlier this afternoon. So I'm not going to get into county contracting. We have a request for, let's just call it 1.228 million, as well as an extension of 1 year until April 6, 2025 for groundbreaking. And that's the motion I'm looking for.
I so move.
We have a motion from Mayor Medina.
I'll second.
Oh, yeah, okay. Anybody can second, but get on the board.
I'm on.
All right, we have a second. Any further discussion before we vote?
I wanted to comment, I thought your analysis was cogent here, because I think, as you said, the percentage the TDC is putting in is probably appropriate to the percentage of tourism it draws, but the real value is to the whole community. So I think that 36%, that sounds reasonable to me of what the actual tourism segment will be, and I think that's why that's an appropriate number. If it was 100%, I would say I'm doubtful, but I think that piece of tourists makes sense from the number that's in the past. So I think it's appropriate investment for the tourism segment. And I think your partnership is admirable, recognizing the benefits for the whole community.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I voted aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you very much for all your hard work, and we really look forward to seeing this
get done.
project come to fruition. Good luck at the Board of County Commissioners. I recommend bringing supporters.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate what you do very much.
All right. That was capital. Any updates from Mike?
We do have, Mike does have a short update if he'd take, I told him 5 minutes at the
Peter's
most.
stressed. Keep it short. Okay, well, we're doing a lot of work in the beaches, so I wanted to try to zoom through it here. Many of you on the board have seen this map before, but I just wanted to sort of go from top to bottom. What are we doing for the beaches over the next couple of years? I'm going to start at the bottom just to mix it up. The South Beaches, in response to Hurricane Ian and Nicole, we're just wrapping up sand placement there. All goes well, it'll be done next week. We're still going to do native dune planting, but that hurricane project was about $26 million worth of work over the last 18 months. And right now, it's come all out of the TDC coffers, which put our cash flow, in a challenging spot, but we expect to get over 87% reimbursement through aid from the state and FEMA on that one. So that one is, sand placement is almost done. Above that, the South Reach and the Mid Reach were bid by the Army Corps as one big project to be built over 2 years. Together, those are almost $60 million worth of total work if you do the construction contract plus the Army Corps engineering and oversight. The Army Corps construction contract was just shy of 50, but then there's other oversight and engineering. Thankfully, we applied for federal flood control and coastal emergency funds. Brevard was the first to ask after Hurricane Nicole. And so those two projects are 100% federally funded construction. Peter will tell you we're still investing money, and in total we'll invest almost $1 million in permit compliance and engineering and making sure the Army Corps stays on track. But relative to the 50-some million in construction funds, if we can get out of it for on the order of $1 million, we're doing well. And then moving up to the Cocoa Beach area, that North Reach for the city of Cape Canaveral and Cocoa Beach wasn't as bad off. So the Corps plans to bid that this summer in about 6 months, and then work should be done between December of '24 and April of 2026. That'll put sand along most of that 10-mile shoreline in all of the area that needs it. Back to the Mid-Reach, you notice this slide, I didn't update it. They were supposed to start in November, and they did mobilize in November. The Army Corps contractor has had a number of delays with mechanical problems, with big, expensive nautical equipment. So they just have not started delivering sand to the Mid-Reach yet. But they, knock on wood, they should start in full force next week. And we've been working with the Corps to make sure all of the Mid-Reach shoreline that was supposed to be protected this winter season will be protected, and then they'll finish the remainder of it next year as planned. So that one's been through delays and challenges, but we're getting there.
Is the
Mike-
Mid-Reach trucked or pumped sand?
It is trucked because we can't bury the rocks, the nearshore rock reefs, but we harvest the sand from Canaveral Shoals and pump it onto the beach at Spessart-Holland Park and put it in trucks. That allows us to get that top-notch sand that's already been washed and cleaned by Mother Nature. So it's the same sand that we would pump ashore in Cocoa Beach, but in the mid-reach, we have to deliver it by truck to avoid or minimize impact to the nearshore rock reefs.
And Mike, you didn't say, but the North Reach, there are no local matching dollars required for that project either. Those are covered under I believe it's a 50-year deal that the
Yes.
feds have to cover Cocoa Beach and Cape Canaveral, right? So-
That is true. We're still the local sponsor, so we fund relatively incidental permitting and some engineering costs, but the construction costs for the North Reach are all federal. So now I mentioned the nearshore rocks. I want to get into, if I can find the right arrow. Oh, that's why. Then my advancing button might work.
Zoom stuff.
Well, it should have been a. Well, there was a.
Mike just took care of that.
Yeah.
Start here again and see if it's there.
Okay, there's the presentation, all right. Bear with me. So now I want to spend a couple of minutes getting into the fun stuff. These are the before and afters you've seen. This is when you build a big beach with a dredge, the before and after of Cocoa Beach and Melbourne Beach. Important to see that compared to before we built a beach, that beach is happy and healthy. The mid-reach, we can't build the beach that wide or we would bury too much of this rock. We spent a lot of effort balancing the need for a recreational and beach to provide protection without burying that nearshore rock. And we've really worked hard to balance that, and we've been successful. So I want to share some of our success. This is that is rock. 2 years after we built the beach, that's the rock still exposed in the mid-reach. So that's what we were looking for. This is the natural rock, lots of technical stuff, but the important thing is the biologist said after construction, the biological cover on the rocks increased between before and after. Did we cause the increase? No, but we certainly didn't hinder development of those rock habitat. Here's the exposure of the rock, which says between before construction, in June of '23, there was 50% more rock exposed than there was in 2004. And 2004 is where our benchmark was set in our permit. So you can see those pictures. There's still rock. We lived up to our end of the bargain. We didn't bury it all. We had a little incidental impact probably, even though the mathematics say we're as good now, we really had no impact. But that's the rock reef we were trying to protect. We built these mitigation reefs to mitigate any eventual burial. This is the mitigation reef and the little green turtle hiding in the nook we made for it. And this, again, I pulled data or words straight from our professional biologist reports that say juvenile green turtles are moving between the natural reefs and the mitigation reefs. Juvenile loggerhead turtles that they've never seen in the neighborhood are now hanging out on the mitigation reefs. So the mitigation reefs are happy and healthy. Those are pictures of the mitigation reef with stuff growing all over them. And there, a separate set of biologists said the artificial reefs have met their goals. You know, there is good biology living on it. We built them for fish. Here's a few clips that a whole bunch of fish are living on them as we desired. Here's some more sea turtles because everybody loves them. Again, we built it to host juvenile green sea turtles, and they love the darn thing. So that's pretty important, not just for regulatory compliance, but if you spend $13 million building something for sea turtles, you're really happy that they love it, and it helps us justify the construction. So we've had good success with our promise to balance the environmental impacts of that mid-reach project. And so we go into this first renourishment with confidence that we're doing the right thing. And I leave it there unless any of you have questions.
Thanks, Mike. I think, just to reemphasize what he was saying, the last part is really critical because there are people that you may hear in the media criticizing, putting sand on the beach. Clearly, the Natural Resources Department knows what they're doing. They were able to do exactly what they said they were going to do, and were, in fact, probably a little better than what was originally planned. So, thank you.
Michael, how long you been working for our beaches or for natural resources?
About 20 years now.
20 years?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your dedicated service.
Glad to do it.
Really appreciate your passion towards this as well.
Certainly.
Got a real
Pleasure.
pro here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That was a good, feel-good report. We like big beaches.
And we like not having to put as much money into it as we originally thought we were going to. So only putting $1 million into that mid-reach project is, we had $8 million budgeted. So that allowed us to, put some money in the holding pattern for future projects, or God forbid, future storms, which we know always happen. So it's good to have a little something in the bank.
I don't know if anybody saw the helicopter flyovers of New Smyrna, Daytona, after Idalia, the last storm. I mean, devastating. Condos lost their entire backyards, pools, seawalls gone, hotels, the entire back entertainment areas collapsed.
Yeah,
Not insured.
Yeah, all up and
pool
down,
areas not
Volusia and Flagler, all up and down had those problems. Buildings falling into the sea, and we didn't have any of that. We had some damage, but nothing like that. And they've been reaching out to Mike and his team, asking, what can we do in the future? And the key is, we've been doing this for a long time. They have to start from zero because they've been building seawalls, and seawalls has been proven again and again just don't protect the upshore, buildings. So they're going to have to start from a very expensive base, and I'm not sure how they would even get there because we've been doing it for so long. We now get this matching from the Army Corps. I will bring up, Mike mentioned it to me earlier before, but there's a bill in the House, and it's actually in the Senate now too. The tax bill is asking for a referendum be held every 6 years for TDT in local communities. I hadn't thought about it, but Mike reached out to me last week and mentioned that our Army Corps it's a 50-year contract. If we don't meet those requests that they have year after year for all the things that we have to do to keep these projects going, they could pull their contract from us, and we'd lose, all of that 60 million and more. We'd be losing those funds, and so having to go to referendum on a tourist development tax every 6 years really puts us at risk with that particular aspect of the budget. So just something to think about.
Second meeting in a row. I didn't have to get on my soapbox. Thank you. We have to have the beach funds in order to get reimbursed. And those numbers are staggering, talking about, inflationary creep. Thank you very much for that report, Mike. Great work. Sports Committee. Anything to report from the Sports Committee?
Nothing yet. There's a meeting on the 13th now, so now we have a Sports Committee appointed. They'll meet and start talking about grant guidelines for next year, and all the committees will be coming back to the TDC. I think 3 of them will come back in March, and then I think another 2 will come back in April. So we've got a lot coming up here in the next couple of months.
Excellent. We are now at public comment, and we have a card from Catherine Esrock. Did I pronounce that correctly? Almost. close.
Good job on the last name that scares people sometimes. It's Catherine Esrock. So hi, I am the new executive director at Brevard Cultural Alliance, and I've been in the job for about 2 months now, and I've had the opportunity to meet several of you and talk with you one-on-one, but not all of you. So I thought this would be a nice, efficient way to say hello and put a face to a name for all of you, and say that I look forward to working with you all, and also thank you for agreeing to be on this council and taking the time out of your day and your lives and your careers to put effort into something like this. And thank you to everyone who's here at this meeting and watching online today, also for taking the time out of your day. I know we're all busy people, and it takes a lot to make great things happen. But that's all I wanted to say. Thank you so much, and I look forward to working with all of you even more.
Thank you very much. We'll wrap it up with any board reports. Going around the wheel here. We'll just start with you,
No
Andrea.
report.
Julie?
I just wanted to add that our beach committee meeting is going to be March 21st, our first one at 2 p.m.
Okay. Alex, anything else? Good news to report? Anybody? Wayne? Mayor?
Just wanted to say, welcome back, Julie. Great to have you here.
It feels better.
And nothing from me.
Nothing from Peter. I don't have anything to report. I can report that the second half of February didn't really pan out the way we were expecting it to from January. That'll probably be reflected in next month's report, but we're optimistic that March is going to be strong, and April forward bookings are looking good. With that, if there's no other business, we will adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you.
The opinions expressed by any member of the public during any period of public comment do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, or the program sponsor, and are solely those of the presenter. The Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, and the program sponsor hereby expressly disclaim any and all responsibility or liability for any defamatory or slanderous statements expressed by any member of the public during any such period.